It is Friday, December the 3rd. The countdown is on. Just 21 more days before Santa makes his rounds. And today we're going to celebrate the holidays Victorian style, you know, as they did in the 1800s. A look at some unique traditions, things like the Christmas Pickle. And, well, we'll also look at a Snapdragon. Are you familiar with that? It involves brandy, a lighter, and a lot of risk. I think we're going to find out. Apparently it was very common, this game called the Snapdragon. Boy, it's going to be a great show, and it's all happening right here on another edition of Here and There. Welcome to the program, my friends. This is episode 39, if you can believe it. And if you're joining us for the very first time, we do this every Friday at 1 o'clock, and it's about really telling some amazing stories, celebrating real-time connection. That's the beauty of the show. We can connect with you, and pulling back the curtain on the amazing spaces, whether it's a green space, a natural space, maybe it's a heritage space like this one, but really showing you some gems across the GTA, some that you may have driven by for years not knowing, and this may be one of those spots here as we stream live on a 2-acre site. This is basically the site of the Bradley Museum, but there are many heritage buildings on site, and it sits on the edge of Lake Ontario, and it dates back to the 1820s. So we're going to tour around, and we're going to take you into the Bradley Museum. Some people regard this spot as a piece of the country in the heart of the city, because as I mentioned, you may be driving on Orr Road never knowing what goes on here. Well, you could visit this place this weekend if you want, and they're doing a special event in the Bradley Museum called the Weird and Wacky Christmas Traditions of the 1800s. So I'll give you more details. We're going to explore it with Lindsay inside the museum in just a bit. Also coming up on the show, we got a full forecast, and this is going to be an important one because this weekend is going to be very active. Sunday into Monday, I am forecasting very active weather with the potential of some power outages. So I'll outline all of that for you. Plus a new AKQ, the Anwar Night Query. We'll do that in a moment. And in our nod to nature, this is a little different this time because I want to take you around the world and look at nature through the eyes of some of the world's greatest wildlife photographers. So we're not going to focus on one aspect of nature. We're going to show you the semi-finalists, some of them in this global competition. Incredible images. Again, that's on the nod to nature. But listen, another weekend upon us. Has the Christmas rush started? I'm thinking so. Chatting with Richard here. He was driving in. Craziness on the roadways. And I think that's indicative of a December. But of course, this is anything but normal, right? For the last almost 2 years. But the key is, you know, as people are maybe they're doing their shopping and, you know, enjoying that moment, the fact that we are able to go back to the malls, you don't need to shop because today is officially Make a Gift Day. Make a Gift Day. And what I love about it is that it's all about celebrating the magic of creating a gift instead of buying it. And the beautiful aspect of that is that it's an opportunity to reduce, reuse, and recycle. I'm not saying you're going to, you know, just pull something out of the blue bin and say, here's your Christmas gift. But, you know, a lot of people are very creative. I'm sure many of you are very talented. Maybe you were able to, you know, bake the best gingerbread or a cheesecake. Maybe you can knit a scarf or a sweater. That's the question I'm going to ask you today. What can you make or do that is worthy of a gift? I'm not saying you're going to give it as a gift, but what would be that skill? For me, I'd have to say it's probably home handyman stuff. You know, and I mean, within reason, right? I'm not going to re-brick a fireplace, but if you need a toilet installed, you need a shed built, I'm your guy. I actually enjoy that sort of thing. I can install a window and faucets and all that. I make some wicked birdhouses. So that's what I'm asking you. What or can you make or do that would be worthy of a gift? Richard, I mean, I think this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I like to do framed, fun family portraits.
Well, and Richard shoots our, Ricardo, we have to give him his 2 minutes of In the Limelight. Can you show him to the world? He's almost hesitant.
Hello, world.
Richard has done almost all of our photography on, you know, whenever we promote the show on the website and all that sort of thing. So we appreciate your skills and your time and your energy and your friendship, Richard. So thank you for that. So that's a no-brainer for him, photography, and he's exceptional at it. Ricardo?
Photography as well. I give photographs. I give away my photos.
And Ricardo, of course, is behind the video camera, but you do also still work. And this is the guy who does the drone stuff too, right? So, well, that's great. So that's the question we're asking you. So let me just sort of walk you around here a little bit. You can see, and I'm going to connect with you. I'm going to disconnect my earpiece, so we don't need that anymore. Bart is joining us. Shar is saying hello. It's a sunny day out there. Great hat. Well, you know, it depends where you are with the sunshine. We are getting certainly some breaks. Cheryl says Haley makes Christmas tree ornaments as gifts, and that's kind of cool. So that's what I'm asking you. And Narita says hearing your voice means it is Friday. Well, that is for sure. So let the adventure begin. You know, this property is a very special place because it is off the beaten path, but there are a number of heritage buildings, and they're nestled in a 70-year-old maple grove here. So there are many nature trails. In fact, Ricardo, if you could just show right here to the right, there's one of the trails right there. So this is another advantage of this spot. You know, you can take the trails and go through, and it'll walk you through a number of different places that it will connect to the waterfront bike trail. In fact, you could head your way to the Rattray Marsh, and we featured that spot on one of our shows as well. But you'll see there's a number of things. Now, this is the log cabin here, and what I love about this, if you look at the corner, you know, I mean, this is a true workmanship, the craftsmanship there. You're looking at the dovetail joints, right? I mean, that is what makes it extra special. It was built in the mid-19th century. It was originally in Mono Mills, and it was moved a few times, and it was going to be demolished, but it was saved by a community initiative, and it has been on site here for over a decade. And you know, this is really a signature of a craftsman when we look at the workmanship. So I'm so glad that they saved that. Very cool stuff. Now, as we move from there, and you can see the fireplace, there's actually people inside there right now. I'm going to be really rude and look in the window, just see what's going on. Hi! Okay, well, they're doing some sort of party. I feel weird if I go in. He's waiting. Say hello. She's dressed up. So we won't intrude, but I think that's really neat and nice. That's what the season's about, right? People are celebrating and doing so safely. Now, behind me over here, we have the Anchorage, and that is the building that we sort of started off the show. And it's kind of striking in its own right. And this was a cottage from the early 19th century, and originally was built near South Down Road in Lakeshore. And it was once the retirement home of Royal Navy officer John Skinner. So there's another little connection to the history of what we have here. And there's a number of other buildings on site. You can see the barn. There's also an outhouse. Now, these structures are not necessarily original to the site, but they do all help tell the story of the city's past. And all of them here are designated as Ontario Heritage Sites. So this would be a great spot to bring the kids and explore. You know, you can look around here for a little bit if there's no actual event, and then take a trail out. I think it's just wonderful. And, you know, they've done maple syrup festivals here as well. In fact, you can see on that particular building all the buckets that are lined up, and it's to explain to kids. Can you see that, Ricardo, over there, straight ahead? All the sap buckets there. So, you know, if I remember the calculation, I think it's 40 to 1. You need 40 to make one pail of syrup. But this is just a great spot. But the main feature is clearly the Bradley House. So we're going to move over here, and I want to show you in particular a unique feature of that. We want to say hello to Donna, and Donna gives Richard a wave, by the way. So isn't that nice? Cindy says for the AKQ, I make homemade jams and preserves and cookies, and I love to gift it. So well, that's kind of neat. That's awesome. Wendy says, I bake pies and cookies for gifts, and I'm working on knitting a blanket. Will it be ready? Well, you've got a few weeks left. Maybe you change it from a blanket to maybe just a doily or something. I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. Also, let me see here. Jerry says, hello, Richard and Ricardo, lovely day in a beautiful setting. Rick says, happy Friday, sunny here in southeast Toronto. The AKQ, my wife can make almost anything like Christmas decorations and wreaths. Me, not so much. Well, listen, that's why it's a good partnership, right? It's a good partnership, and you appreciate her, Rick, and that is the key. You appreciate the efforts that she does. Kathy says, one year I gave my sister a card to make a date for me to come over and cook a meal for her, the whole family, from appetizers, excuse me, to dessert and music and ambiance. Wow. It was great because she also picked a day in January when things weren't so busy for everyone. You know, sometimes really, the gift of time is the best thing you can do. So that sounds amazing. What a great idea. Cindy says, I knitted a cardigan for my one daughter, and I'm now knitting a sweater for my other daughter. I knew we had talented people who watched the show. I knew it. Rose says, hello. And Shirley says, home baking, squares and pies. You know, I've said this many times before, there's nothing like some homemade baking, right? So if you can, you know, bake a pie and you bring that during a celebration, everybody enjoys it and everybody's happy. So I think that is just awesome stuff. Carol says, I paint Christmas ornaments. Now she says, for your tree, are you going to paint it for my tree? Well, that sounds like a nice thing. I like that. Jack says, what an amazing cabin. It really is. Again, this is something that is worthy of an adventure to bring either yourself or your family. I think it's fantastic, and we're going to tour in just a moment. Lois says, I make cookies and squares, so a lot of baking going on, and that is certainly a great idea, especially for the holidays. And Tammy says, happy Friday. Hope everyone is enjoying all the festivities happening all around us. And I think that, you know, we've talked about this, that there is a little bit more breathing room, right, this holiday. I don't think we need to be as cautious in terms of, you know, if you're vaccinated, you can let your guard down a little bit with your family, but we still have to, you know, be smart about it. But I think this is a bit of a reward because it has been such a challenging time that people are able to get together safely and share some laughter. You know, love and laughter, that goes a long way. And I would imagine, you know, back in the 1800s, you know, it's the same thing, families getting together. Like the Bradleys, there were 7 kids that lived in this home. But one thing that's really unique, you see how this roof is sort of slanted down. So this is the official Bradley house, and it's known as the Salt Box style farmhouse, and it was built over 190 years ago by Lewis and Elizabeth Bradley, and they were among the early settlers here in Mississauga. And why is it called that Salt Box style? Well, think about it. It refers to the shape of commonly what was the wooden containers that contained salt in a homestead. So I want to show you an image here of a wooden salt box in comparison to the roof line, so you can see where they got that idea, that concept. You know, the match is just perfect here, and that is sort of how it evolved, if you will. And it really is amazing because that long slanted rear roof, you know, these homes typically were 2 stories in the front and 1 in the rear. This one is 1.5 stories, and it became common to limit to 1.5 stories because if you had two official stories, you were taxed higher. So the advantage of this particular structure is that also it helped the snow melt faster, especially during the harsh New England winters. And that's where this design, for the most part, originated. And you can see how that would work even to this day when the snow, you know, comes and eventually it'll go over. But quite a striking structure and a fair size. I mean, if you're thinking for the time, and we're going to go in very shortly. But Lewis and Elizabeth Bradley, in fact, let's walk around the other side and you'll sort of see one of the entrances here as we stream live in Mississauga. We want to thank, by the way, the team at the Museums of Mississauga for, you know, really embracing us to help tell this story. But I just love all the details on the home. The couple lived here with their 7 children for a number of years until Lewis Bradley died, and then his wife eventually sold the house and the property, and it was then purchased by an American oil company. And at one point, it was actually slated for demolition in 1959, but a publisher, Kenneth G. Armstrong, this is another great gem of the story. He was a local newspaper publisher. Isn't that entrance really cool? And he purchased it along with 4 others. Now, I read it was $1,500. Again, we're going back quite a few years. But they then donated it to what was known as the Toronto Historical Foundation, and now it's the Mississauga Heritage Foundation. And that part of that history would have been lost if it was not purchased. And since they donated it, you know, the story can continue. And what I found really interesting, because it was refurbished and it's been open to the public now since around 1967, is that he was the original founder of the Mississauga News. So kudos to him to have the foresight that, hey, you know, this is a part of the history of this region. Let's work together and save it, and that's why it is today. But, you know, you can imagine in the winter when everything is all white. I love the color, I love the door, the way it's all framed out. It's just a snapshot in time of history. And that's what I love when we start to tell some of these stories. I just think it's amazing. And you can't smell it. You guys smell the fire, though. And, that's one of my favorite scents of the winter season. You know, you're smelling the wood-burning stove. And I don't know if the camera picks up the smoke, you know, coming out of there, but it's amazing. So we're going to go inside, but before we do, we should get to the forecast, and we'll let you know that the weather is brought to you by the Big Blue Marble Podcast. Listen along to undeniable stories of our changing planet and the amazing people trying to save it. It's available now in your favorite podcast player as well at www.bigbluemarble.earth. So we are streaming live here at the Bradley Museum. We're going to enter the structures. I'm going to put on my mask now, so bear with me for 1 second, because safety first. Put this on here. And then Ricardo, if you'd, welcome to the homestead. In you go here. And we are going to talk to Lindsay Doran, the education coordinator at Museums of Mississauga. And oh boy, doesn't this look nice already? And we saw the smoke, we smelt the smoke, and it's much warmer in here. So Lindsay, I got to ask you, we're going to get into some of the traditions, but was Christmas really a big celebration in the Victorian era?
It depends on what part of the world you're in.
Okay.
So if you're over in England, yes, your Christmas celebrations are actually going to be pretty similar to what we celebrate today. You're going to get together with family and friends. You're going to have a great meal. You're going to have gifts.
Yeah.
Lots of special decorations. But if you're here in Canada in the backwoods, you've just arrived here,
Yeah.
or you're within your first 3 years as a settler,
Right.
your Christmas is going to be quite a bit different. In fact, you're probably only going to maybe have a special meal with family and friends.
Right.
People coming over from England actually talk about how much they miss Christmas celebrations because people here don't celebrate.
Isn't that something? Yet the outside would lend to what a traditional Christmas would be with the snowfall back then,
It
right?
would be perfect, but imagine you're an early settler, you're
Yeah.
farming, you're building a house. There's a lot of other things that you need to focus
Your
on
priorities.
other than getting decorations up or having a big gathering.
What would be a Christmas morning be like, though? Like, would there be an anticipation? Would there be sort of a special meal that is served? Like when the kids come down in the morning, what would they be coming down to?
Oh, there's definitely anticipation because a special meal is probably the main thing that stays the focus.
Right.
You're going to have a chance to see family and friends who you might not see all that often because
Right.
everyone is busy. In the winter, there's more time. So it wouldn't necessarily be as much anticipation of gifts that kids
Sure.
have nowadays, but of seeing people you haven't met in a while and
Yeah.
having a meal. Now that might be something like a turkey dinner, but it would really most often be the best meal you could afford. So
Right.
if it was beef, if it was oysters, if it was just a regular duck or goose or
It's all
chicken,
relative, right? If that would still be, I mean, even to this day, some families could relate to that. Sadly, not everybody is able to have a turkey, but you make the best with what you have. So, there's a big event happening this weekend, and we're looking at unique traditions. And you have quite an assortment here on the table. I'm kind of intrigued about this. So we have, it looks, different types of raisins. Is that what I got?
Yes, we have a platter here with some different types of raisins.
Okay.
And this is a very popular Victorian and Edwardian Christmas tradition. Actually, it goes all the way back to Elizabethan times. It's called Snapdragon.
So this is the Snapdragon dish.
This is the Snapdragon.
Okay.
And what you do is you have your platter filled with raisins, and they often use nuts, and you basically cover them in brandy. So the whole plate is covered. And then,
I like how you pour. I like your style.
well, you know, you need a good amount. That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Because the next thing we're actually going to do is we're going to light the
Okay.
brandy on fire. Hopefully this will.
Let's see here.
It's going to be stubborn.
Maybe we watered it down. Is it pure brandy? Oh, man.
The main thing is it's a little cool.
But the idea behind this is that this would be flaming brandy, and then what's the trick here?
So the trick is, once everything is afire, of course it's going to be stubborn.
Well, sometimes that happens.
100-year-old brandy.
Oh, man.
Well, once the whole bowl would be aflame.
Right. And you know what?
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes that happens, but the idea is that this would catch. Well, it is a little bit there.
Catch a flame.
Right. A little bit there. But, and then you would try to get the raisins, what, with your fingers or your spoon, or what are you doing?
Yes, you would reach right in with your finger, and you would pull out a flaming raisin or flaming nut. And it seems pretty crazy to us because, I mean, the first thing we're taught is don't play with fire.
No kidding. Do not try this at home. But this would be Christmas night? Like
It would be. So, well, it could be Christmas night. It could be Christmas Day. You would essentially want to gather around with all your families and friends, and this would be a parlor game. So a game that everyone played together, adults and kids alike. And that is because no television back then. So you had to do something to entertain yourselves. And this was it, and there was a hint of danger associated with it because, of course, you're reaching into something that is flaming.
But you mentioned as well, we were talking earlier, that the Edwardian version is you'd go face first like you're bobbing for an apple?
Yes, so many early versions of the game. In fact, I got it going a little bit there for us.
Yeah, we got some here now.
And now it's gone out promptly.
But how does anybody do that without actually getting hurt? It seems really bizarre to me.
The trick is the type of liquor that you're using here, which is brandy,
Right.
actually does not have a lot of alcohol in it.
Well, that's evident.
So
Well, it is
doesn't
going right
actually
there.
burn that hot. Okay, it's
Yeah.
spreading a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what? I can make it more evident. We can add a little salt, and it actually.
Oh,
burns
wow.
orange. Oh, we got it. It's
It's
going.
It's spreading now, yeah. Look at that. That actually is very cool.
It's
Look at that.
and the same if you've ever the old tradition of lighting a plum pudding on
Right,
fire,
yeah.
bringing it to the table, kind of comes. Okay, now it's gonna
Dun,
go.
da, da, da!
And they would actually sometimes sprinkle salt on it because it would make it go a little bit orange like that. And then you would just basically reach in, pull out a raisin. That one's still on fire. It did not hurt me. Again, don't try this at home.
Yeah, I don't feel confident. I think my jacket will go up. I'll be a firecracker. But the idea is they would just keep trying to. That's the game. That's the part of it, right?
Yep. And you get them
Wow.
out. And then, so by the Edwardian time, so by that's like 1900, 1910,
Look at it now.
it had actually escalated to the point where people were being really daring. They dared you to just dip your whole face in there and grab it with your teeth instead of your hand.
Listen, that was a hard time to live in. Boy, I don't know.
Free haircut.
A free haircut,
Well, I
complete.
would say this is a game for children too. Like,
Isn't
the
that
children are
something?
playing this.
Wow.
And we see it happen at Christmas. We see it happen at Halloween.
Yeah.
It is quite popular.
So that's the Snapdragon. And then what about the Christmas Pickle? Because they didn't really have a tree per se.
They didn't, but the Christmas pickle is actually a newer tradition
Okay.
that comes from a time of Christmas trees. And I wonder if you take a look at my mantle decoration here, if you can spot the pickle.
Dun, da, da, da. I see the Christmas Pickle. There it is.
And this one is truly kind of interesting because nobody knows where it came from. At some point, it was attributed to German traditions,
Right.
but the Germans have no notice of this. They say it's not us. But at some point in the mid-century, people started putting pickle ornaments on Christmas trees. And the idea here is that the first person who finds the Christmas pickle gets an extra gift
Well, I think it just sounds like a neat idea.
And I think the pickle works because it's green, so it
Right.
kind of hides in the tree there. So that is why some people have these Christmas pickle ornaments.
It's
that they
certainly
put on trees.
safer than the brandy and the raisin, that's for
It's
sure.
a little bit safer than the flaming raisin.
My goodness.
That's for sure.
And then, I mean, obviously the stockings back in the day were really what they would wear on their feet in everyday life.
Yeah.
Would that be affixed to the fireplace in
They
reality?
would hang it to the fireplace. Now, you probably often had stockings on your fireplace in the winter because when your socks get wet or when you do laundry, you use the heat of the fire to dry them. And that's actually how stockings get associated with gifts. Is St. Nicholas, who would eventually become known as Santa Claus, threw some gold coins down a chimney to help out 3 well-deserving ladies. And those gold coins landed in stockings that were hanging there to dry. And that's how we get this tradition of getting gifts in our stocking.
And drawing to the fact of Santa coming down, I guess, the chimney, it was originated from the coins then.
It connects to that and then becomes popular in stories as well. We have the stuff going down. And then actually, originally, when children were writing letters to Santa Claus, they would leave them by the fireplace because that is where Santa Claus would grab them. It was only once the postal system became developed that we started sending these letters to Santa Claus instead.
My kids actually just put theirs in yesterday, to be honest. And now we've got, this looks like coal. Now this is interesting because, you know, for the longest time, it was the connection of if you were naughty, you got coal in your stocking, but that may not be part of the story.
Well, we associate coal with being naughty, and being not a great gift. But to be honest, for much of history, getting coal would be great. Coal was what you used to heat your house. It cost a lot of money. So being able to get that as a gift, well, sorry about that.
Yeah. It's okay.
Have a drink.
Don't do a shot of the brandy. Oh my. So the coal then, in that regard, even back in the 1800s though, was it considered a good thing in your stocking?
It was kind of a little bit of a cheeky gift.
Right.
In that parents thought it was funny, but kids wanted a gift. They didn't want the coal.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a second so you can take it. Do you have any water access here? You may have to pump it from the well, so I'll let her do that. But in the meantime, I'll let you know we are streaming live here at the Bradley Museum, known as the Bradley House. And this is where you can actually join in on the fun this weekend. You'll get to bring the kids in, and you can basically get a little bit of a tour on some of these traditions that are enjoyed back in the 1800s. And we're going to let you know how you can book a time and a ticket for that, because of course we have to limit the number of people at a certain time because of COVID. But before we get into that, so the coal pieces, would they have actually been put right into the sock?
They would all go in the stocking, and the kind of idea was that they would go for misbehaving kids. So the kids would be really anticipating, they would be going for that gift, they'd be going for that gold or maybe a chocolate gold coin.
Yeah.
And then instead they would open it up and there would be coal there, and the kids would be disappointed, but the parents...
I was going to say, the mom and dad are like,
either excited or as a way to, like, even nowadays we say, okay, you better behave well or...
You'll get coal.
Santa will put you on the naughty list in the same way from this. It's a message. Ooh, you need to shape up a little bit.
And the other side is oranges or clementines. To this day, clementines are very popular at Christmas. I know my mother-in-law spoke about many times getting an orange. That would be a real treat. And you could see some of the decorations here with that.
It was, and we don't associate it with a treat because we have easy access to oranges. We can go to a grocery store any time of year and get them.
Right.
But back then, they only grew in tropical places. So if you wanted an orange here in Ontario, especially this time of year, it would cost a lot of money and effort to get one. So an orange was truly an indulgence you might only have at Christmas time.
Right.
So getting that orange in your stocking was a great treat. In fact, one family might share a single orange. They were that expensive to get.
Wow.
So really, all three of these things would be not bad to receive in your stocking, though you might not appreciate the coal quite as much as you would the other two.
And were the Bradleys considered wealthy?
They would be considered middle class.
Middle class.
In that they didn't have
have eaten. I just wanted to show another room here. Would this be known as a family room per se?
So this would be a formal parlor.
Former parlor.
Formal parlor, yes. So most people had a kind of fancier room in their house that they would splurge a little more on the decor for, and then you would only use it for special occasions. So actually perfect at Christmas time when you would have family and friends over and entertain them in your kind of entertainment room. It had its own fireplace, so it would be nice and warm.
Yeah. And this is something, again, if people want to come this weekend, they'll be able to go to a little bit of a tour with that?
Yeah, we'll be doing a full tour of the house as part of this weekend's tours. So you'll get a chance to see everything here, including the upstairs.
So how do we get tickets? What do we need to know here?
So to book tickets, you're going to go to Eventbrite, and you can search Museums of Mississauga on Eventbrite. You can also go to our website, culturemuseums.ca, and you will find the link there. And we have weird and wacky holiday traditions running this weekend, as well as the weekend of the 18th and 19th, and you'll book a ticket for a time slot.
Okay, and we're going to post that information also in today's show notes, but it is imperative. You can't just do a walk-in. You need to be scheduled for the time, because obviously safety is paramount, so they want to make sure they have a number of people going in at one particular time. So that's fantastic. Well, Lindsay, I want to thank you so much. That brandy, I bet you now it's even better. If you put that in a shot glass, it's all heated up. Just before we wrap up, guys, I can feel that heat. I want to get into our nod to nature, because I thought this was really fascinating, and it's something different because in this week's feature, instead of focusing on one aspect of nature, I wanted to share images from some of the finalists of the Wildlife Photographer of the Year contest. So this is some of the People's Choice Award finalists. I want to show you the video now, and you'll get a look at some of these images. It really is amazing. And we start off with the barracudas in Palau, that's in the Western Pacific. It took the photographer 5 days to get this perfect shot, swimming along the school to get it just at the right angle. And the next one is a grizzly in the Yukon. Now this was captured by a British photographer, waited in minus 30-degree temperature, hoping that one particular female would use the log to cross, and clearly it did, but he said that you could hear the icicles on the fur tingle as she walked by because it was so cold. What a beautiful image. The next one is, look at the colors on these golden pheasants. These birds are native to China, and this is where they inhabit dense forests in the mountainous regions, and these are two males, just beautiful. You have the next one shot by a Canadian photographer. She flew to Australia to document the stories of animals affected by the devastating bushfires. And the final image, look, a meerkat in South Africa. This is on a reserve, so they are used to people, so the photographer was able to get in close and use a wide-angle lens. More than 50,000 different entries were received from 95 different countries for this year's competition. Well, listen, guys, we're going to wrap it up. It's been a busy show. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is where we ask for your continued support. If you like what we're doing, give us the thumbs up, the likes, the parade of hearts. And also, we're always open to your questions and comments, but the more that you engage with us, you show off all those hearts and those thumbs up, we continue to grow. And if you're watching the show on Facebook, on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel as we try to grow that platform as well. And again, we're always open to your suggestions and comments. I want to thank the team at the Museums of Mississauga. We appreciate their hospitality. I'll put on again all the details that you need to know if you want to book some tickets. Very quickly, one of the sites that I have is mississauga.ca/arts and culture. You can get information there, but I'll put it all in the show notes. And bring the kids down, explore. There's so many wonderful things, and the beauty in this particular spot, it's indoor and outdoor, so you can also connect with nature. We want to thank you for your time today. I appreciate your support. I hope you have a wonderful, safe, and happy weekend, and I look forward to your company next week. Now, where will I be? Where will I be? Here and there. See you later.